So ultimately, now you did get your blood work,
I
and
did.
the results were what?
I'm positive for benzene.
Positive. So there's benzene in your
Yeah,
body.
yeah.
If you like my videos, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you could, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm to spread the video worldwide. Now that the media and politicians are gone, it helps the video shine a light on our little town of East Palestine, Ohio. And check out our Facebook group, East Palestine Off the Rails. Get the truth from the people that live here. And lastly, if you'd be so kind, donate at our Give, Send, Go, or our GoFundMe site, East Palestine Off the Rails. We have gotten absolutely not one penny from the federal government, and we are trying to assist people that want to leave. Thank you so much for caring, and thank you for watching.
Meaning to these?
Um, I just like medieval stuff,
Yeah.
and that guy up there is the son of the guy that discovered chiropractic. That's
Okay.
B.J. Palmer, so that's his bust.
Okay.
There's knights
I
formed
love
in
the
the
eagle back there. I saw the knights.
yeah.
This is very interesting to me. One is
So
pouting and one's smiling.
that's a happy and sad monk,
Interesting.
and then the gargoyles at the front of the driveway to
I don't
scare
even.
people away.
That's funny. The gargoyles. That
Well,
I would love to have those in my driveway.
honestly, gargoyles were originally um, a good thing to ward off evil spirits.
This is.
in
You're right.
France, right?
Yes.
The gutters that came down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're in for a wild ride today because this is Lorrie O'Connell. She's been a patient for a very long time, and we've been trying to get together on this. And I think the best interviews are when I speak the least. And I probably think that's going to happen today because she's got a lot to say and to talk about. She does not live in East Palestine. She lives across the border, which is often forgotten about. East Palestine, East Palestine. That's very important. But the surrounding communities got hit very hard by what happened. So let's go ahead and get on with the interview. So, Lorrie, I'm glad we finally make it.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here.
Where do you live exactly?
I live in Darlington Township, 3 miles from the derailment site.
Okay. That's across in the Pennsylvania border.
Yes.
And as we know, as soon as the chemicals hit the Pennsylvania border, they kind of bounced back into East Palestine, right? They did not cross the border.
No, well, they did, but then, of course, they stopped at 51 because I live on the opposite side of 51. So if you're in the Cannleton area or that part of Darlington Township, the chemicals were there, but they knew to stop at 51 and Cannleton Road.
And the reason she's saying that is because of the mapping that was done. Who could get assistance, who was actually exposed to chemicals. And so we all around here believe and know that that's ridiculous. So let's go ahead and talk about your experience. Let's start way back from the derailment night. Start from there.
The night of the derailment, we had all gone to bed and we kept hearing sirens, a lot of sirens, which is not normal for where we're at. And so, of course, we do what everybody else does. We turn to Facebook to see what's going on. And we realized that a train derailed. So, and it was close to Lake's gas station, which caused, some concern. But then, realizing that it didn't hit the gas station, that it was still, surrounding around the tracks, we went to bed not thinking anything of it.
So let me interrupt you for 1 second. Leaks or Lakes gas station, that's a very popular gas station because a lot of people don't realize that train derailed directly in front of the Pennsylvania border. We're a town where you go 5 minutes and we're in Pennsylvania. So Leaks gas station, because of taxes and things like that, gasoline tax, that is a gas station where a lot of people from Pennsylvania come right across the border and they get their gas there because typically Ohio gas is cheaper.
Right.
And that large gas station, along with their storage pumps, their storage tankers underneath the ground, were right at the derailment site.
Right.
So go ahead.
So we didn't really think anything of it. Got up the next day, checked in with the, news and different things to make sure what was going on, not realizing what was going to happen. So Sunday came and they were talking about, that the one tank was building up pressure that they were afraid that it was going to blow. So, of course, our concern was mainly for the first responders who had, because they're our friends, they're our neighbors, it's a volunteer group. And, we were worried about their safety foremost. So, checked in with a couple of those people. They were home and they were okay. Just went about our daily business. Then comes Monday. And Monday was a game changer because we were told, after I had consulted with our local authorities, our township people, just shelter in place, shelter in place, shelter in place. Okay. So in the meantime, not realizing that this train is spewing chemicals. So talked to our neighbor and
So we're on Monday.
yeah, on Monday. So we are like, okay, we're just going to stay home. I mean, we have pets, we have dogs, we have cats. And we thought our daughter was at work. We thought we would just stay home. So about 3 o'clock, we decided to leave because I had gotten 47 phone calls. And it was the last 2 phone calls that I got that made us change our minds. One of them was from a person who is associated with Norfolk Southern Railroad.
Okay, before that, what the 47 phone calls were from family members and
Family,
friends,
friends, everybody
saying
worried. Yeah,
asked how you were.
worried. Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So the Norfolk Southern friend said, you have to leave your house because what is coming is very toxic.
Oh, so this was unofficial. This was just somebody that worked
Yes.
with Norfolk Southern.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next phone call that I got was from another individual who works with vinyl chloride and said, you need to leave your home. And he called, he was very concerned because he said, I've looked at the weather, I've looked at the wind patterns, and he said, that's going to come right over your house.
Wow.
Get out.
So the EPA gave a different model, right?
Right. So we made the decision and we left. We went to Chippewa, which I don't know if that was a good decision or not. And then we went to Patterson. We ended up going to friends who live in Patterson, and we had dinner with them. And we were gone for probably 3 hours.
Which is about 15 miles, 12 miles away
Right.
from Patterson.
Right.
Okay. So the east.
We were coming home, and as soon as we got to Darlington Borough, it was noxious. The smell was horrible. So bad that I have disposable mask in my car.
Disposable what?
Mask.
Masks.
Yeah. So my daughter and I each put 2 masks on.
Such as you mean like COVID?
For like COVID,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Because we still needed them in the doctor's offices in PA until recently.
And while I'm asking, what you left on Monday?
Yes.
Is that okay? So when is it that you're coming back?
We came back Monday night.
Oh, you came back Monday night.
Well, yeah, because they told us it was fine.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can only go by what you're told.
Wow. So that's a lot different than they told us in East Palestine.
Right.
And you're just a little further away than I am, and I'm in East Palestine, but you're across the Pennsylvania border.
Right.
And they had us evacuated since Monday, and I think we came back Thursday. Mm-hmm. So were you even evacuated at all?
No.
Oh, so
we were told to shelter in place.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Now they did evacuate.
Now, who told you to shelter in place?
My local authorities, my township people. They told me that everything was fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. So we, you want to believe these people. I know these people. They're my neighbors. So you want to believe them. Mm-hmm. And while we were gone, our neighbor sent us a picture of the cloud as it went up. Our other neighbor actually was there because he didn't have enough time to get out.
Was where?
At his house.
Oh,
he watched it.
So he never left?
No, but he watched the cloud. He watched it go over 51, and he watched it go over his property and the neighbor's property across from him and all over through the woods up by our house. So we know that it was there, mm-hmm. but we didn't know that when we came home. So we came home, we didn't think anything of it. Life went on as normal. So the day after that happened, which was Tuesday, our daughter became ill. She's thrown up. We thought she had the flu. So she threw up Tuesday and she threw up Wednesday. And we thought, well, she's just got the flu.
Mhm.
Well, she didn't feel good the whole week. In the meantime, I'm still drinking water out of my tap because we're being told everything is fine. So I don't know at what point we decided that maybe we shouldn't be drinking our water. So we got bottled water. We went and bought some. And I was still drinking water. I drink water. That's all I drank. And I thought, I'm going to drink out of the sink because I'll leave the bottled water for my husband and my daughter. So I'm still drinking out of the sink because I'm thinking, it's going to take it a while to get down there. I've read up on it and everything.
Mom sacrificing
Yeah.
herself. Yeah.
Until I realized that I'm the only one who's got a metallic taste in their mouth. Their lips are burning and, I'm having headaches every day. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. And my daughter said, Mom, maybe you should quit drinking the well water. Why don't you switch to bottled water? Which I did, but they continued. And I tried to get an appointment with my doctor, which was a fiasco because I called him and they had this was the end of February by now. Okay, because I've been drinking well water for 2 weeks.
So we have gone from February 7th.
Mm-hmm.
6th was the bomb. You came back that night. 7th was the next morning. You started drinking the water. Now we've gone through 3 weeks. Before we get to your doctor, in that 3-week period of time, let's talk about some of the symptoms that you had.
Oh, I developed these muscle aches suddenly. I had no idea where they came from. I had actually come to you because I thought it was my back, my neck, my arms were hurting, my legs were hurting. And it was excruciating. I couldn't sleep. It hurt to walk and I could get no relief. Nothing brought relief. The headaches, they were horrible. What I did notice is when we left the area, the symptoms went away.
I remember you're always joking in the office when you come in for treatments. To me, you looked exhausted and your face,
Yes.
your eyes were red. You looked very tired.
Yes. And that was another thing too, because I had looked at my eyes and I was like, I look like a raccoon that's red because my eyes were the skin around my eyes was red. And yeah, the fatigue is still there. The fatigue has not left yet. But like I said, when we would leave the area, we go to Pittsburgh. My husband had doctor's appointments in Pittsburgh. We go down there and I would be like, wow, my headache's gone. I don't have all these symptoms. The pain was still there, but the headaches, the burning lips, the taste in my mouth. We get home and I wouldn't be home 10 minutes. Head started hurting again. All the symptoms reappeared.
So a couple examples that verify this. I don't know if you know the CDC workers that went door to door. You would know this, of course. But,
yes.
The CDC workers that went door to door, I believe the report said they stayed about 30 miles out of town in a hotel. That was their estimation. This was not released by the CDC, although they do know that this happened. And then somehow it leaked that this happened. A portion of their CDC workers were getting sick as they were in town. The CDC says they didn't report it because, when they left town, they felt better. Now, isn't that the reason to report it?
Right.
Their symptoms went away when they left town.
Absolutely, because, that's exactly. It doesn't take a brain scientist or, a rocket scientist to realize, oh, wait, I feel better when I'm not there.
The CDC says earlier this month, federal workers actually got sick while they were surveying in East Palestine after that derailment.
They showed symptoms similar to what other people have been talking about, fearing chemical exposure.
Chris Hoffman went back to East Palestine today to talk to residents who are still dealing with the aftermath about the report.
And for the people here, this just reinforces their distrust of some of the government officials. They say if those federal workers are getting sick, what's possibly being done to them? The CDC says it was on March 6th, more than a month after the train derailment, when the workers got sick. They were in East Palestine assessing the chemical exposure.
It's been a living nightmare. It has been pure hell.
According to the CDC, 7 people on the 15-person team reported symptoms, including sore throat, headache, coughing, and nausea. These are similar symptoms to what residents complained of in the chemical assessment surveys after the derailment.
It's not getting better. It's not getting better at all.
Those federal workers reported their symptoms to safety officers. Later that afternoon, the CDC says the symptoms resolved. They all resumed their work 24 hours later. They didn't appear to have any long-term issues.
I do not trust anything that officials are telling us.
Now, people living in East Palestine say if these workers got sick in the short time they were exposed, what does that mean for the residents living with this air every day? They don't trust the state and federal leaders saying the air is okay.
I don't think any, of our government officials would want to be right here in Ground Zero. I mean, I think certainly, that Shaw wouldn't.
4 days I couldn't quit coughing.
The EPA and Norfolk Southern did not respond for comment today. For the people here, they say they just want the truth. They're adults, and they say whatever it is, they can handle it. In East Palestine, Ohio, Chris Hoffman, KDKA News.
When I come home, I'm right back to where I was before.
Before I went filming in the creeks, I actually was fine.
Yes.
The first few times I went in the creeks, I had no respirator. I got deathly ill, and I don't need to repeat all my symptoms, but diarrhea for over 5 weeks, gastrointestinal problems. And as I would stay away from the creeks, you'd get better. I would get better.
Yes.
And then when I'd go back in, you get ill again. So when you're exposed to the chemicals back and forth, what you're talking about, I know that happened to me myself.
Right. Which concerns me about my daughter, because she would go to work, she'd come home, she'd be okay. About 2 o'clock in the morning, she'd be up thrown up. Long enough to be home for that. So I don't know. Now I don't know. Because again, we don't know. So I called my doctor because I'm realizing there's something going on here.
Before I forget, we're going to get to your doctor. In that 3-week period of time, I'm going to assume you're going to tell me somebody came out and tested your property, tested your well, tested your air.
No.
So to this point, has your property been tested?
My well has been tested. I can't get anybody to test my dirt. And I'll tell you how I got my well tested. I appeared before the PA Senate hearing at CCBC, which is the community college. And I called the next day to the DEP, and told them who I was and that I had appeared and I wanted my well tested. They came out the next Wednesday, and tested my well. Before, they had tested people that were in the 1 mile, 2 mile radius, because I gave them phone numbers of people that I know who had not been contacted, nothing.
So they came out because you were raising a stink.
Yeah.
On Newsmax, Greg Kelly, shortly after, we were talking about our well water and how nobody's getting their wells tested. That aired, I don't know what night, let's just say a Tuesday night. And Greg Kelly, I think, came on at 9 or 10 o'clock. And that morning I was awakened by knocks on the door, and they wouldn't stop, and the dogs were going crazy. It was Norfolk Southern, and there was a policeman there, and there was also maybe somebody from the Department of Health from Ohio. And they wanted me to sign a paper, and I wouldn't sign it. And this was, I didn't know, I'd read it, and it didn't seem legit to me at the time. And so they left, and I'd never seen them again. But I could not believe the night after that aired, they were at my door.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. Because they're not going to, this is what irritates me the most about this whole situation, is they're not going to act unless you publicly call them out on it.
Unless you poke them with a stick.
Yeah.
And why is that? Shouldn't there
It shouldn't be that
ants
way.
on an anthill here?
Yes.
Everybody should have had their wells tested.
Yes.
When we can send all this money overseas, why was that not happening?
It's
and not our wells and land only, but our bodies as well.
Yes. Well, because we are very, we grow our own vegetables. I can, because I have health issues. My husband does. And we just feel that the stuff you buy in the store it's not good for you.
Rightly so.
Okay. A lot of bioengineered food out there.
Let's not even get into glyphosate, Roundup.
Yeah, right. So, we prefer to grow our own vegetables, and we're not putting a garden in this year because we can't get our ground tested. And I don't know. I've talked to scientists, I've talked to other doctors, and I just don't feel comfortable. The most honest response that I got was they had an open house at the Darlington Township Fire Department.
Who did?
The township supervisors.
Okay.
And we had the Department of Health, Norfolk Southern was there. Who else was there? DEP, EPA, the air people. All those people were there. Department of Agriculture, I asked him, I said, should I plant a garden? And he said, when do you plan on planting it? I said, probably the beginning of June. He said, well, if it was today, I'd tell you no. I don't know if I could tell you yes in June. That was the most honest answer I got. There's a creek that runs down along 51 too. Nobody's been down there to look at that and see if it's okay. They assume that it is. Well, you can't assume anything with this because this is all unknown. Nobody knows what this has done.
And that was my point in the beginning with dioxins. I was really concerned about the creeks because I'm a very visual person. And when they would say, everything's looking much better, and I'd go down to the creeks and it looked horrible, I'd say, oh my God, what are they saying? And the creeks look like this. So that's what I could see. I wasn't sure about what happened with the dioxins and things that may have been formed in the fire, but they also were not testing. And I said, hey, let's assume everything's absolutely perfect, but we don't know that because they weren't testing.
Right.
And they've never tested your area to your knowledge?
No, they haven't tested anything. No air, no water, no nothing. I mean, they tested my well, which they were supposed to send me an email about it, which I've never got. But according to our township supervisors, our government, everything's fine. All the wells they've tested have come back fine.
So you've got the actual readout? Or
No, I've gotten nothing. Nothing. They never notified me that the test results were fine. They were bad. Nothing.
And you also then, if you don't have the actual printed results, you don't know what they tested for?
No.
Okay.
No. So we're still drinking bottled water. But the problem is, you wash your clothes in the water. You're bathing in the water. I'm not cooking with it. I mean, we're even giving our dogs and our cats bottled water.
Same thing.
Because our one cat, he's older. He was acting funny. Like, he's very vocal. He meows a lot. He's very talkative. And I noticed that he was just kind of laying around. He was not himself. Now, he's an indoor-outdoor cat. He does both. And he was out of it. And he has since come back around. Our dogs were both sick a couple days. They seem to be okay now. I don't know if it was the water. I don't know. See, I don't know. That's the problem.
That is the problem.
You don't know.
And when there is unknown as well, when there's unknown and there's shortcomings in testing, that also breeds conspiracy theories, right?
Yes.
Even if they're the most believable or the wackiest,
right?
That's where the problem comes in because of inadequate testing.
Agreed. You look to these people who are supposed to be experts. That's why they're where they are. And they can't answer simple questions. What are people supposed to do? I think to myself, my heart breaks for the people in East Palestine. I grew up here. I graduated from there. I know these streets. I've been, through town many times. And we still have family. And I still have friends that live in town. And it's just disheartening to know what they're going through. Some of them I can't even begin to imagine. I can't, because I thought we are lucky. I thought we were lucky because I thought we dodged a bullet. We're good. I can't say that now.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So now it's 3 weeks out. Now let's swing back to your doctor's appointment.
Oh, this is hysterically ridiculous. So the Department of Health in Pennsylvania decides they're going to put out a webinar to all the doctors, okay? Because they're setting up a clinic at our fire station. So I talked to a couple of people who went to the clinic, and they told me, don't waste your time. Because you go in there and it's everything but what it's supposed to be.
Allergies.
Yeah. So I call my doctor for an appointment. The girl says, okay, she said, I got to record all this. She said, the first appointment I have is March 1st. Okay.
Which I back up.
Phone appointment. Go ahead.
It could be allergies in some cases, but when you have this chemical bomb go off.
In February?
Maybe. So I'm not.
I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah. But how they were discredited patients that came in, just
it was
seeking
disgusting.
help. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. The petting zoo, I called it. Did you know I called it the petting zoo?
Yes, because you told me they had a dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which is, we like dogs.
I know, but still, I mean, these are legitimate fears, concerns these people are having. Don't dismiss them.
And
how dare you?
A few of my patients who were dismissed, they actually tested positive for
Exactly.
contaminants in their body.
Well, so my doctor calls me. We have our video conference, and he says, well, he said, I don't think you have anything to worry about. He said, it'll go away with time.
What will?
My symptoms, my headaches, my eyes, they're burning. They're, I'm going through eye drops like mad. My lips are burning and my tongue, the taste on my tongue, the muscle aches. Oh, it's your imagination. It'll go away.
Did you say it was your imagination?
Because he told me that it could be related to the train, but he didn't think so. So just see what happens.
That was my question.
Go to the clinic.
For a doctor to formulate the advice that it's going to go away, he must have had some type of diagnosis to base that on. What was
what he told me was, you need to go to the health clinic. I said, you're my doctor. Well, you need to go to the clinic. You need to report this to the clinic. Okay. So I thought, I'm not getting anywhere with him. So I read his notes from the visit.
And how do you do that? Online?
On my electronic records. He said I had a migraine. And that I've had migraines in the past, which, yes, I have had migraines in the past. This wasn't a migraine. And I was mad.
Do you remember at that point what symptoms you were telling him that you had?
Well, I told him, I said I was having daily headaches. I couldn't get rid of them. The eyes, burning eyes, water, I was going through eye drops. Lips burning dry, mouth, the metallic taste and that muscle pain. And I couldn't get rid of it. And he said, you have to go to the clinic. We're supposed to refer everybody to the clinic. But you're my doctor. No testing, nothing. Lord. I chose not to go. So I did not go to the clinic. Okay. No, I didn't go because, everybody's time is valuable. So is mine. And I've got other things I need to tend to. So I said, you know what? I'm not getting anywhere with my doctor. I'd already heard, what they do there. And I thought, okay, I'll wait.
Before you go on, again, I said you had a lot to say, but
I do have a lot to say.
And we're going to get into that. This may be a 2-hour interview.
I know, sorry.
Because we're both talkers. But I treat a woman whose husband is a medical doctor in a facility, a local facility. And they had a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
And the wife was in the bedroom when the doctor was on the computer in the Zoom meeting. And the Zoom meeting was about how you how you speak with people that would come in to visit you for their concerns from East Palestine. And you're in Darlington, but just about the derailment. And what the wife of the medical doctor was hearing disgusted her so much that she got very angry and left the room, because it was pretty much how you direct them to think that it was everything but the train.
Right.
And, stress plays a large role. There are people that were stressed, and it was a very...
understandably so.
But just so that that tone was set with doctors in this area.
So I knew that was not a conspiracy theory now.
I've always said from the beginning of this, the absolute facts and what was done by Norfolk Southern and their negligence after the fact of the derailment and them laying tracks down and everything else, from the aerators in the park with nothing around it, no hazardous chemical signs. I could go on. The absolute facts, without hyperbole, are scary enough about what happened without making stuff up. All you need is the facts of what happened.
Exactly.
And that is enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to your doctor, then he told you to go to the clinic, and then what did you do? You didn't do that.
No. Then we had our open house at the township building.
There we go. That's where we
So I went in and I talked to the Department of Health, and they told me to go to their facility in Aliquippa, that they would treat me because my doctor could not tell me he couldn't treat me. And I said to them,
I'm
but
so sorry. Say that one more time.
they told me to go to their practice.
So they had a branch, their branch, they
Right,
had a
in
meet.
Aliquippa.
I got it.
Okay. And they would see me and they would treat me.
Which is another 20 miles away.
Right. But my doctor, they said, well, your doctor couldn't tell you that he couldn't treat you. He has to treat you. I said, but you told him he couldn't. And they said, no, we didn't tell him that. I said, the webinar told him to send me to your facility, your clinic. Well, no, he could have still treated you. He's not allowed to not treat you. Okay, so double talk. I said, okay, I'm done with you people. Done with you. Moved on. Went and talked to the people from Norfolk Southern that were there for about reimbursement. Talked to them and said, I don't understand how you could draw this imaginary circle. Then you draw this imaginary, rectangle with a circle. I mean, geometry is good, but come on, people. There's other people that have been affected by this. And so we're going to call you. We'll call you.
So okay. She's talking about they drew maps and there was circles and there were triangles of
rectangles.
They just said, hey, these are the people that got hit with the chemicals and the smoke.
Let's guess.
We all knew it wasn't true.
Yeah,
but,
let's guess.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So I turned around and there stands Mr. Norfolk Southern himself, Alan Shaw. And I walked right up to him. He said, how can I help you? I said, you can fix this mess. That's how you can help me. I said, I can't see my own doctor. Well, if you need a doctor's appointment, we'll pay for it. I said, no. My doctor's not allowed to treat me because of the webinar that was put out. And I told him, I said, so if you're going to make this right, I said, you need to make this right. Well, you take her number. He tells his assistant, take her number. We're going to call her. We're going to come out and meet with her. I ain't never heard from them or seen them again either. But in the meantime, two of the people that were with me, being one who tested positive for vinyl chloride and another friend that I used to live next to for 20 years were there, both within the 2-mile radius, who had not had their wells tested, could not get in. I made them both talk to him, and I wouldn't let him leave until they both had their say.
Good.
And then we went about our business. I talked to Jim Marshall. He took me over to the Department of Agriculture. He's our representative.
Oh, okay.
Okay. He took me over to the Department of Agriculture. I talked to him. That was like not even worth my time. And I left there.
Why wasn't it worth your time?
Well, because he took all my information, never heard from him again. He couldn't tell me anything. So we leave there. We've spent almost 3 hours at this event and left with the same amount of questions as we had before.
So I've been to so many of those things, and I was about 3 weeks ago. Somebody contacted me early in the morning and said, hey, we have an extra seat. There's a private meeting with Sherrod Brown. He is
yes,
the Democrat senator for Ohio.
Right.
Is Ohio?
Yes.
I'm not very political. So, and I said, okay. Yeah, well, first of all, he said, I'm not going. It's not going to do anything. And he said, no, you got to come. So you just get so tired of people coming in for photo ops.
Yeah.
And maybe he's going to help it. Here's what it was. So we're in a church in a small room, and there's tables, but there's also chairs around the edge.
Okay.
And some of us chose to sit on the edge. And as Sherrod Brown came in and he sat down, his people said, no, come on, get on in the tables. And through the whole, so that we were surrounding him.
Mm-hmm.
Then through the whole conference that he was talking to us, there were about a dozen of us there. They're kneeling down. They're taking angled pictures of Sherrod Brown and us with the heads behind,
Yeah.
And I you feel kind of like you want to go take a shower because, maybe he's going to do good things, but it's like a photo op.
Okay, so we are February, March, April, May. Okay, so now we're February, March, April, May. 3 months out. I have talked to more political people and news stations than I ever dreamed of that I would talk to in my entire life. And I still don't have answers.
Yeah, nothing's happened.
So I'm like you, because I even said to a couple of the people, a couple of government officials that I was talking to, I followed up with emails to them, and I told them, I said, I hope you enjoyed your photo opportunity, because you'll never get me in another one. Because I took my time to speak for people who cannot speak for themselves. And what? What did it do?
Or
Nothing.
afraid to as
Yeah.
well, because have you had the experience where people are afraid
Oh,
of
yeah.
backlash? They
Oh,
want to
yeah.
speak out, or they'll speak to you privately, but
I'm not afraid.
yeah.
I don't care. But, so you put your heart out there, you put your soul out there for these people, telling them we need help. These people need help. And it falls on deaf ears, and it's just so disheartening.
I was going to say, how's that make you feel?
It's disheartening. It makes me realize that everything that I was taught when I was growing up is true. That I think that we are seeing things our parents spoke of in regards to government that we, as kids, we didn't think anything of it. As young adults, we didn't think anything of it. When something like this happens, if you don't see the truth, I don't know what to tell you.
And it's one thing to see it on a national level where
Right.
you're watching it on the news. It's different to see it right in front of your eyes, to see the EPA just in the Norfolk Southern, the CDC, just
Yes.
lying, bold-faced
Yes.
lying in front of you. And I'm
Yes.
using the creeks as the example
Right.
with
I
this.
agree.
And I'm
Mhm.
using the CDC workers that came here and got sick as an example.
Yes.
When you see it right in front of you in your little hometown, then how much worse is it on the national scale?
There's no doubt in my mind that there is a lot of ulterior motives to why this is going on. But I will go back to when they're digging. This was the other thing too. See, when they're digging and the wind blows, guess where the wind blows?
East.
Yeah. And guess where I am?
East.
And guess what happens every time? I can smell it. Now, they haven't even got to the vinyl chloride section of the track yet. And I really am worried about when they get to that. But I will tell you, the first time that it rained after this happened, we were going somewhere. And you know how usually when you have a spring rain, it's that fresh
Yeah.
smell and
Yeah.
it, smells
Actually
like
love
spring?
it. Yes.
We walked outside and I went, oh my God, it smells like must, like moldy, musty. There was something there. I'm sorry. It is there.
And that was where, in your home?
Yeah,
In your yard?
we walked right outside our door and you could smell it. And today I walked out to come here and it had rained. Same thing. There is not that fresh, clean smell. There is some type of, it's not as noxious now, but there's an odor in the air.
What do you mean they haven't gotten to the vinyl chloride part of the tracks?
In their digging, it's my understanding. I attended a town hall meeting a week ago. They have not got to the part where they burned the cars yet.
That was a shocker to me. For those of you, what are we now? This is May 7th.
Yes.
Oh, so this is the anniversary of the burn. This is it a 3-month anniversary? So
Yes.
90 days?
The 6th would have been when they burned.
Yes. Okay, so the day after the burn is
Yeah.
the anniversary, when you came back home the night prior.
Mhm.
So we're 3 months out.
Yep.
They, first of all, of course, they did nothing for the first month. They just ran those trains right through. And as for Alan Shaw, whether they were forced to pull up the tracks with the thousands of gallons of contaminated material and chemicals underneath, or as he states in the Senate testimony, no, we weren't forced. We started digging them up ourselves a month after. Well, that's when they did the southbound. They're currently finishing up, or just I think they're finishing up with the northbound. They haven't even touched the burn pit yet.
No.
All those chemicals did not burn off.
No.
There are reportedly thousands of gallons of vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, and whatever mix of noxious, deadly chemicals under that burn pit. They covered it up because they didn't want that all dissipating as they're doing their number one priority, getting the trains running again and fixing the tracks. And Mark Durno also said that the burn pit is one thing. He's also more concerned because the land dips down into a depression.
Yes.
And they believe thousands of gallons of more vinyl chloride and chemicals went into that depression.
I believe that.
And there are industrial buildings right next to the pit and the depression.
And a lot of people getting sick.
Yes. And there's people still working there in those industrial buildings. Well, when those chemicals hit that clay layer, it moves laterally as well. I'm just going to guess it went under those buildings. What are you people going to do? And he said, well, maybe we'll like put some air things and try and blow the chemicals out of there. Look, you spill something on your carpet, right? And whether it's soda or something,
Yeah.
you try to get that soda out from
Yep.
under your,
Absorb it, get it out. You don't want that.
Yes, but once it gets in there and it gets into your subfloor,
Oh yeah.
that's very difficult. Sometimes you just have to rip something out, or if
Yes.
if it's bad enough, or something gets mold under there.
Right.
I don't see how they're going to do that. They're either going to leave chemicals under there, or they're going to tear those buildings down. But here we are 3 months later, and the burn pit is not even addressed. They covered it up with gravel and whatever else. I thought it was asphalt or something that they covered it up with. So they capped it off.
Okay, so that brings me to another point that you and I had a small discussion
on. One more thing.
on.
When they cleaned the tracks, how does that burn pit chemicals not seep back under where they just cleaned up?
Right. So, well, because it has an imaginary line.
Yeah.
Remember,
stay over there.
That's right.
We just cleaned.
You stay right there and don't you move.
Yeah.
We're coming for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You wait.
Right. It's an imaginary line. But you and I had talked about. I told you about mines being underneath the town.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go. Let's look at that, because here's my other concern about that. It was a mining town, as well as this whole area, Darlington included. Okay. So now they have all these chemicals sitting in this dirt. They do hit the clay and they seep out. How many mines are underneath there that are full of water, now have the chemicals in the mines in the water? How are you going to get those out?
No one knows. Both answers to that question. Yeah. No one knows.
And nobody will tell you. And it's just like, okay, you burned all this stuff. What did it make? We don't know. We have no idea. So we got labs. We are like brilliant people in this country. We have brilliant minds that work in, they're scientists, they're, chemists. So get them together and put this stuff together and figure out, what exactly did you create? What monster did you unleash on the people in this area? Because I can tell you, the chemists that I talked to told me they should have evacuated 15 to 30 miles out.
I've heard at least 5.
Yeah.
Maybe 15.
Yep.
Yeah.
And nothing. And my sister, who lives in New Springfield, she smelled it. She could smell it at her house. And she said there were people up there in trucks riding around testing the air in New Springfield, New Middletown. I have family in New Middletown that witnessed the same thing. So you can't tell me that it wasn't out that far, because they were out there checking.
She's talking about 20 miles east in Ohio, 20 miles east in Ohio. I know, let's just say you actually got tested at my place.
I did, because let me tell you, I did reach out to other doctors. I should tell you that. I reached out to, I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have fibromyalgia. I have some autoimmune disorders. I reached out to all my doctors, begging them to test me. Please, 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 because I know there's something not right here. So I did get blood work for heavy metals from one of them, which all came back, which is nice to know. My heavy metals is okay, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I have routine blood work done for my medical, because of the medicine that I take. The last time I had my blood work done, which was just about a month ago, I noticed that there were some numbers that were high, liver, creatinine, things like that aren't normally. Now, I do normally have a low blood count, but it was a lot lower red blood count. So I'm like, and they tell me, oh, your tests look fine. And I'm thinking, I'm not a doctor, okay? But I know me.
How does that make you feel, that something that you wanted, a doctor can't just, in normal circumstances, just appease everything a patient wants.
Right.
But when you have something like this go off in your town, 2 or 3 miles away from you, that was one of the worst that we've ever seen in the United States history, and you're having symptoms, how does that make you feel, that nobody would listen, or nobody would...
Oh, it was frustrating. It was absolutely... You start to question your own mind. You do. You question your own thoughts. Am I imagining this? Is the hype so much that I just think this is going on? But you know, it's like two parts of you. It's like the good versus the evil. And you got this one on your shoulder saying, it really is happening. And this one over here saying, it's just in your mind. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
And you really start to question your
Mhm.
own validity in your own mind. You know, I have grandchildren that come to my home. My granddaughter, right after they did the burn, and I wanted to mention this too, she stayed at my house that Saturday, not the Saturday before the burn, but the Saturday after the burn.
Okay, which was like 6 days later.
Yeah. Woke up in the middle of the night with a bloody nose.
Hmm.
I said, oh, I knew. I knew.
Very common with
Yeah.
residents and myself.
Yeah.
I never get bloody noses. I had 2 bloody noses.
And the thing of it is that I get, okay, so we know that medical people are not allowed to practice medicine. They are controlled by big pharma and the insurance companies. We know that. But in the same token, I'm not a pushover. I know who I am. I know when something's wrong, and I'm going to tell you. And if I'm telling you that, know that it's the truth, because I don't go to the doctor. I try to stay away from the doctors as much as possible. And, you know, if I'm calling you, then there is a problem, you know, but to be dismissed, it's so frustrating. And I will tell you that I did see my PCP after he told me to go to the clinic. This was probably a month later. Still would not address the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Did note it in my chart though, okay? But I did say to him, and I would like you to change, I said, your diagnosis that you gave me from our phone visit.
From migraines.
Yes, and he looked at me and I said, oh, you don't think I don't read those? Oh, I do. I said, I read everything. I said, you were incorrect. That was not a migraine. I said, it was the same symptoms I'm still having today. Still nothing.
So ultimately now you did get your blood work.
I did.
And the results were what?
I'm positive for benzene.
Positive. So there's benzene in your body.
Yeah.
So this is where I want to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Are you currently a smoker?
No.
You told me you were a smoker maybe 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Do you work near any automobile service stations? Do you work in an automobile service station?
No.
Are you working with gasoline on a daily basis?
No.
Do you work with glues, paints, furniture wax, detergents on a daily basis?
No.
To your knowledge, are there any hazardous waste sites right near your property with high levels of benzene?
No.
Okay.
Only the one in East Palestine now.
What is that?
Only the one in East Palestine now.
You ruined my.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And you don't work any industries that make or use. You don't work in a factory that uses benzene.
I am retired.
Yeah. Now I'll ask you: do you happen to live near any recent chemical bomb that went off?
Yes, you bet I do.
So why are we told? And these are the people that test positive for vinyl chloride, people that testing positive for benzene, which I have a few now.
Yes.
And keep in mind, I haven't tested that many people.
Right.
There is a high ratio of people testing positive for vinyl chloride and benzene in their body.
I have a 24-year-old daughter. You know what she asked me? Mom, is this going to affect me having children? I can't answer my own child.
Well, let's talk about that. Well, let's first of all go on to what happens to benzene when it enters the environment.
Okay.
Industrial processes are the main source of benzene in the environment. You don't know of any big, large industrial complex next to you.
No.
Again, there was a big chemical bomb that went off.
Yes.
Benzene can pass into the air from water and soil, meaning if it's sitting in the water and the soil, it will vaporize into the air. Benzene in the air can attach to rain or snow and be carried back down to the ground.
Imagine.
It breaks down more slowly in water and soil and can pass through the soil into the underground water. Benzene can be reduced by limiting contact with gasoline and cigarette smoke. You don't come into contact with gasoline on a daily basis where you're spilling it on you.
No.
And we had discussed this. You and no family members smoke in your house, right?
No.
It says families are encouraged not to smoke in the house or enclosed environment or near children. So here we go. Breathing very high levels of benzene can result in death, while high levels can cause drowsiness, dizziness, rapid heart rate, headaches, tremors, confusion, unconsciousness. Eating or drinking foods containing high levels of benzene can cause vomiting, irritation of the stomach, dizziness, sleepiness, convulsions, rapid heart rate, and death. The major effect of long-term benzene exposure is on the blood. It's stored in the marrow and can cause a decrease in red blood cells, leading to anemia. It can also cause excessive bleeding and affect the immune system and increase the chance of infection. Some women who have breathed high levels of benzene for many months have had irregular menstrual periods and a decreased size of their ovaries. But we do not know for certain that benzene caused the effects. It is not known whether benzene will affect fertility in men. Long-term exposure to benzene in the air can cause leukemia, and it goes on and on. So we just don't know, but some of those symptoms you definitely had, and you are devoid of any of the other exposures that they say can cause benzene in your body.
Correct. So my plan is tomorrow I'm calling my PCP, because he has privy to those electronic records also. I want to see if he will be willing to order for my husband and my daughter to be tested, because I want to get them tested to see where their levels are. Because if I've tested positive, chances are they're going to too. If they both test positive, I want my granddaughter tested, because I believe that she has spent time at my home. You know, it's that unknown monster. You know, you look around and you think, is it in this? Is it in that? You know, I mean, I'm having hydrologists, chemists, doctors telling me don't eat any meat products or eggs that are in a 15 to 30-mile radius, no vegetables, you know, because it leaches into the ground. These animals eat the grass. They store this in their, you know, the muscles. They pass it through, you know. So again, it comes back to.
And you're talking about possible dioxins and things like that.
Yeah. You know, but again, these are possibilities, because unless you take all those things and put them together and you test them to see exactly what they make.
And you do a mimic burn.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
So we really, it's an unknown. And that's what scares people. That's why people are afraid to die, because it's unknown.
So there's also, we wouldn't want you testing positive for benzene in your body, but it happened.
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny bit of indication, but also in some validation. But what are the other emotions that you have since you've learned that?
It makes you think, what is in the future? I'm coming to the end of my life. So if it takes off of my life, I get it. I can't control it. It's out of my control. But I have to look at my children, my grandchildren. What is this going to do to them? You know, and I look at my home. I mean, my husband and I have been together 25 years. We worked our butts off to pay our house off early. You know, my husband has the beginning stages of dementia. You know, so I'm dealing with, you know, trying to keep him safe, and now dealing with this. And dear God, if something happens to me before him, what's going to happen to him? It brings on a whole new set of worry. It does. I mean, you worry about those kind of things. I try not to think about it, but you can't help it. And I'm not going to lie, the first night when I found out, I didn't sleep, because I laid there and I thought about it. What can I do? I'm at the mercy of the unknown. It's frustrating. It's scary, you know, and not scary for me, but scary because of my kids and my grandkids, and for other people. You know, there's other kids in our neighborhood, there's babies, and I think about them and I think, how dare you?
Yeah, we had an 18-year-old athlete non-smoker, of course. He's a football player, tests positive for vinyl chloride.
Yeah. I mean, how do you explain this to children? I'm sorry, but you have this in your body. Well, where did I get it? Why did that happen? What can we do about it? How's that going to affect me? I mean, my 24-year-old daughter's thinking about it. How's this going to affect me in the future? Mommy, what is this going to do to you? Well, I don't know. I can't answer that. We can only try to live as healthy as we can. Um, there's a whole lot of stuff out there that people say, do this, do that, do this, do that. Okay, that's all great and wonderful, and I get it. But I have to look at what is our bodies were designed by a master, and they were designed to take care of things that were created in nature, but not man-made things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an answer to that.
Of the people that I talked to that have tested positive for vinyl chloride and benzene, my advice to them was, well, kind of, what they should have done with the creeks in the beginning here was to reroute and dredge, reroute the water and dredge so that no more poison was coming down into the creeks. There is no way to grab benzene out of your body with some kind of magical health food product, and there's no way to grab it out of vinyl chloride out of your body. But the human body is so amazing, it will take care of it and it will eliminate and detox from it.
Okay.
If you get out of the area,
Well,
or if
yeah,
you
that's
you stop your exposure
right
to it.
And I don't know
And
what my exposure is.
You don't know. Isn't that the big question?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this big circle, and emotions. There isn't anything I can do about the fact that I have it in me. Okay, that's out of my control right now. But am I angry? Somewhat, because I think that when they knew what they were doing, they should have evacuated a lot more people. I'm sorry, but they propose that they know what they're doing. They know everything they need to know about this. Then why is this happening?
During COVID, it was test, test, test,
Oh,
test, test,
God,
test,
yes.
test. How do you feel that there's been no mass testing here? And how many do you just hypothesize? How do you feel about them not testing? And do you think maybe if they tested, there would be a lot more positive findings, meaning more people showing up with those chemicals in their body?
I think that's why they're not testing. I think that's why they did the webinar with the doctors. I think that's why they send people to a health clinic. They don't want you to know. They don't want people to know. Because if you know, then that just makes it that much worse. And keep people in the unknown. Don't tell them. Don't tell them, oh, you got cancer because you ate the wrong foods. You ate red dye. You did this. You did that. It'll be every reason except for the one that it really is. And that's why I don't think they're pushing any testing, is because they don't want people to know how far reaching this was. So it has reached way further than what, they say. COVID was just a whole nother, that was just a whole.
This is on YouTube. So we're not allowed to talk about
I know
that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk
Okay.
about that. But, that was just a whole nother situation that how I feel about it, because we've discussed that in private. As far as this goes, I don't think that they're testing because they don't want people to know. They don't want to know how bad it was. And I get it. People say, they're a $1 billion company. I've heard that, they have insurance, they have this, that, and the other thing. Okay. But their money isn't infinite. There is an end to it. And they can only pay out so much before it's going to start to affect their business, whether it's insurance, whether it's whatever. Okay. And what do you think they'll do?
Bankruptcy?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think $100 billion might help? Not that we're asking for $100 billion, but we just sent that to Ukraine.
I think that all the money that we have sent overseas, look, I'm all for helping somebody. Don't get me wrong. I would help anybody. But there comes a point where you have to take care of the people in your own country first. And that's not happening here. It's being swept under the rug. And I heard this thing, and I believe this. They said that the EPA's job was to get this out of the news as fast as they could because they want you to forget about it. I mean, look at all the other places that have years later. Okay, look at Camp Lejeune right now. Okay.
Is that 30 years or something?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about, look at Flint, Michigan. Those people haven't had clean water in how long? You know, there's just so many different places. There's a place out in, I want to say, Minnesota or Missouri.
Oh, you're talking about Times Beach.
That town,
Times Beach,
that
Missouri.
is now just a ghost town.
The guy
Years.
accidentally or not accidentally sprayed dioxins on the asphalt.
Yeah.
So
there are no accidents. I mean, if I trip and fall, I tripped and fell because of I didn't have my shoes tied, or I wasn't looking where I was going. And there are no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. In Alliance, I believe, is where was the first sighting of the bearing being on fire. That train should have been stopped then. That train should have never gone any further. So there, and who made that call? I don't know. Who told them just keep going? Because I heard, and this is, again, you cannot confirm this or deny this because they don't tell you, but my understanding was they told him to get that train to Conway, which is the big yard where they fix trains. Okay.
So where we are, we're probably 20 miles from this large facility where the trains are maintained, and it's a big rail yard. And that was one of the first rumors that was happening, was that they actually, because it was filmed 30 miles out with the bearings on fire, security cameras at a grocery store, I believe it was. And in fact, one of my patients, her video went viral. That was on her Ring doorbell.
See? Yeah.
So she came in a week later and said, hey, look, that was me that went all over the world. That was my film.
Here, say that. My video, the one where the Ring camera caught the train going past the house on fire, that's my video.
That is insane.
That is my video.
Wow.
That is my video. Yeah, you can send that to her. That's my video.
That's your video? Yeah, you can see that train on fire, that wheel on fire.
I saw the train on fire go past my house, and that it very possibly could have been my home. And that is extremely, extremely terrifying.
So there were rumors that the sensors were going off, and the people knew, and they were told to, hey, just try and make it another 20 miles so you don't shut down or slow down the trains. We don't know that, but it's certainly funny that was on fire for 20, 30 miles.
Okay, so if my car wheel is on fire, I am not going to keep driving hoping that I get home.
Or to a gas station.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to pull my car over and I'm going to call somebody to tow my car.
Well, I've treated hundreds of Norfolk Southern workers over the years. As the years go by, there are more, the people have lost a lot of morale working for that company. When I started in practice 30 years ago, the people would come in the old timers, and they liked working there.
Yes.
Oh my God. Just as a blanket statement, most of the people do not enjoy working for Norfolk Southern, and they don't like them as a company, but they got to feed their families.
Exactly.
Two things. One of my workers says that something happened where in Conway. It's Conway. Where you said maybe they were trying to make it to. They had this shed that they did maintenance in, and for some reason they some kind of petroleum got all spilled there, and they had to dig up the dirt. Well, he said, they were ordered to dig up the dirt. He said, you know what? We walk by that pile of dirt every day. He said they dug it up and they stuck it there, but that's been years. It's been sitting there.
And what are they doing now?
Well, also this guy's also angry because he has to walk right next to what he calls the contaminated junk from East Palestine. They took the busted up rail cars and intact rail cars, covered with chemicals, just burnt, and they're sitting where he works, and he has to work next to them. and he has to walk by them, and he says, we don't know what kind of chemicals are on
Yeah.
those rail cars. So you've got a pile of contaminated dirt that they had to dig up from years ago, and you got those cars sitting up there. So if that gives you an indication about the company, is there anything that you want to touch on that has really positive or negative about this whole experience that we haven't talked about?
I think the positive is that people who didn't realize they had a voice found it. And I think there's a lot of people that are standing up, that are realizing that what has happened here, it's not going to be fixed by the government or Norfolk Southern or anybody. It's going to be by the people. Um, I think the negative to this is that I don't think that the government learned nothing from this, because I think it'll happen again. Maybe not here, but it's going to happen somewhere.
Two things about that real quick. Are they trying? Do they care? Or you said,
That's
are
what I
they
mean.
learn? They
That's
don't.
the
Are they? Do
negative
they
from
want to
it,
learn?
right?
Do they want to learn
Because
anything?
this is such a teachable event
Mm-hmm.
that has happened here. The EPA gave the DEP the map of the people that lived in Darlington Township in the zone. Half the people weren't even on that map. I did talk to them about that. I said, you might want to update your map, because I think some more people moved in since your map was printed, because you missed a few. I mean, do we learn anything? We teach our children, if you do something wrong, learn from it. What could I do to make this better so it doesn't happen again? But you know what? History repeats itself.
Yeah, you would think they'd learn that from Flint, Michigan,
Yep.
right? And I don't
Yeah.
know if there's any change there. That's kind of why it's hard sometimes to keep up hope here, because it
Yeah.
is repeating itself.
It's frustrating.
And some people say the reason that you said something that reminded me of something. One of the reasons it was so difficult to fight in Afghanistan and in Vietnam, how there's a difference between sending fighters somewhere that do not have a vested interest, and there's a difference between the people that are dug in and they're defending their home. And that's why the media has left. That's why the politicians don't care. But you're defending your children's home,
Yes.
your grandkids,
Yes.
your own life, and that's what makes these people realize that they do have a voice.
Yes. But what's frustrating is who's listening. That's what's frustrating, because I've had that discussion with people. Where do we go from here? Now, this was before I knew that I had any chemicals in my body, because I'm trying to help other people, because that's who I am. What can I do to help you? And they're like, where do we go from here? And I said, I don't know. I don't know, because there is no, you hear snippets, but not like it should be, because this is not over. And it's not going to be over for a long, long time coming. And I don't want to be those people in a history book that 30 years from now, they said, well, we shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You're relying on paid stuffed shirts. Sorry, but that's just how I see it. There are people there that are only there because they know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they don't know what they're doing. Well, step out the way and let people who do know, let them come in.
Like
Let
the
them
independent
help.
testers that found different results than,
Yes. Well, yeah, Andy Wheaton.
Andrew Welton.
Yeah, from Purdue.
Yeah,
I mean, he's coming back, I read.
He's here now. And he
He's
has written
found,
scathing letters
yes,
about how it's being mishandled.
Yes. But nothing. Texas A&M, they were up here, they found stuff.
Mhm.
How is it that they're finding these things? That's why I said, if people can't see it for what it really is, read between the lines, folks. Because I'm telling you, your government don't care. They don't care. There's an ulterior motive coming out here. I don't know what it is, and we may not know what it is now, but there is definitely a reason this happened. But part of the problem is the investors in the railroad. And I've learned a lot about some of those investors. Shocked me what they have their hands in. Not surprised now, the reaction of what's going on here. And see, to me, I feel like it's a losing battle, knowing what I know. And I hate that.
The entities you're talking about, you mean, are just so powerful that it's, yeah.
Oh, they're into everything.
I said too in the beginning, if we didn't get massive response and answers to our questions, when you couldn't get a parking lot downtown and press is parking in people's yards, and there were hundreds of reporters from all over the world,
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to get much now,
No.
but we're going to keep fighting.
They let them come in for their photo ops, and now, they closed our water distribution in Darlington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're getting very little bottled water
Yeah.
now.
We talked about selling our house a few years ago, and our kids were like, you can't sell this house because we grew up in this house, and now they're looking at it like maybe we were going to have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And that's
know?
the same situation here.
We have a hillside behind our house, natural springs coming off of that. That's what feeds our well. They're like, you don't have to worry because it moves, east to west?
Yes.
I'm like, that would be north, and that would be south. And my well and that are north and south. So how can you assure me that that's not going to get into my well?
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep drinking. And I hate drinking bottled water.
Yeah.
I hate it.
We actually put ours through a filter because I'm so health conscious. There's microplastics in those bottles.
Oh, I know.
I
know.
For years, we haven't drank out of anything. If we're going to take a trip, we
Yeah.
put our stuff in stainless steel
Yeah.
bottles.
I have a stainless steel bottle at home, and I always filled it up with water because I drink water all day long. That's all I drink besides coffee. I don't drink pop. I don't drink anything else. And, and I hate bottled water. And I find I'm forcing myself to drink this.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because I just am not a bottled water person. I'm using it in my coffee. I use it when I cook, and I'm thinking, oh, this ain't gonna taste right. This is just not gonna be,
Try to cook pasta with bottled water.
Well, that was one thing my daughter did say the one night she got sick. See, this is what I'm telling you. Connect the dots,
Oh,
people.
she took it out of the tap.
She made macaroni and cheese and used water out of the sink, not thinking about it, and threw up. About 3 hours later, everything she ate.
I would say get the rest of your family tested.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Okay, well, do you have any last words?
No, except thank you.
Oh.
Thank you for everything that you have done. Seriously, because you have stepped up and stepped out where other people, professionals, have not.
I will take that thank you. But first of all, doing the blood work, if I was a automobile, auto body guy, you could thank me for taking the dents out of your car or painting it, but that's my job. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything above. You're thanking me because other people won't do what they're supposed to do. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything above and beyond that.
But you are, because you understand where we have all been turned away from the people that we have depended on for our medical care for all these years. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They will not help us, but you have. And I know people are grateful for that. I recommend you stay out of the creeks because I don't think that's good for you.
How's the weather looking right now?
Well, it's kind of, no, I don't think you need to be out there right now, but yes. So thank you. Thank you for caring enough about people. We don't have enough of that. But you do that. You do that even outside of this. You always have. Because you took care of me when I had Bell's palsy. And I was worried about how I was going to pay for it.
When was that, Lorrie?
That was in 2010.
Wow.
And I came in your office when I got out of the hospital, and I was devastated. And you came in to me and you said, don't worry, we're going to take care of you. And you did. And I will be forever grateful to you.
Boy, you're making me tear up.
I'm sorry, but it's true. And indebted to you for the kindness that you showed to me.
I do. I wish I could say I remembered that.
I do.
Well, thank you.
I do. So thank you.
Well, thank you for doing this interview.
No
It's
problem.
a Sunday. This is another thing that if it wasn't for this, we would be enjoying right now with our families.
Yes.
And we're here doing an interview. And I thank you for taking time out of your day.
Well,
and doing
thank
this.
you.
All right, Lorrie.
Okay. How do you trust anybody? That's why we rely on ourselves. That's why I rely on my neighbors. You know why? Because I see those people every day. I know who they are. They've been my neighbors for a long time. They have my back. But I know my government doesn't. And I'm not saying that you don't. But politicians, I don't have time for politicians. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And you know what? When we cut, we all bleed red. And somebody needs to come forward, and somebody needs to step up, and somebody needs to address all the questions and concerns of these people that took time out of their day to come here today. Because so far they haven't been heard. Because see, they get the runaround with the alphabet soup people. Because they don't care. Doesn't affect them. They're at home in their houses and they're safe. I don't know if I am. I don't know if she is. I don't know if my children are. Somebody needs to come forward with some answers.